Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sales Chatter, the only logistics podcast that's out here to help 10,000 reps to hit a million GP. I'm your co-host, Ryan Mohammed. With me is my amazing co-host, my man, the main man, president and CEO and founder of RGTX Logistics Solutions, Jeff Dickinson. How you doing this morning, brother?
Good, my man. How about yourself? I can't believe it's already Tuesday. It was a fast weekend, and here we are on day 2 of prospecting. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
I gotta say, we got some really, really good feedback yesterday. I got a bunch of messages, truthfully saying that this is what they kind of needed, for the cold calling, what we're talking about, and the differences in what we say, right, and the way that we kind of handle things. So I thought it was awesome. How it wasn't as good. Like our episode was great, but it wasn't so good for Brady last night. I woke up this morning to seeing that he's out of the playoffs for the first time. It's crazy, man. Jeff, what are your kind of thoughts from yesterday?
I'll tell you what. First and foremost, what we're talking about is so highly subjective. It really is. Different approaches and everything like that. But to get to Brady, I think this is his last year. He had not a stellar year, man. He was below 500, and he wasn't on target last night. I mean, he was so off. It was
crazy.
Yeah, crazy. But he's still the GOAT. I mean, whether you like him or dislike him, he's still the GOAT. He can go off into the sunset and retire as the best quarterback that ever played the game, and don't feel bad about it.
100%. And I love when legends like the GOATs, they leave on their own terms and then they go in that shadow. Like, I don't know if you remember this, but Kobe Bryant in his last game, rest in peace, he scored like 70 points in his last game. So everyone was like, oh my God, he can come back next season, all that stuff. But like he hung it up at like the highest highs. And I was kind of like seeing like champions kind of retire after they win a championship, because it's like, what engages you to come back? I know you want to repeat or things like that, but if you're in the twilight of your career, it's going there. But let's get to emails. Emails.
It's like the mind says yes and the body says no.
Yep. Yeah. That's a song, right? Like I think the R. Kelly song. But emailing to me, Jeff, I'm gonna preface by saying this is probably one of my favorite channels of using. I've closed a lot of customers. Actually, my top customer that I have right now is because I close them through email campaigning. And we're going to talk about different methods of emails, and we want to kind of get interactive with everybody here today. So Jeff, there's two ways I've always kind of seen email. One was the way that I kind of got started, and then the second way is the way I do it now. The first way, and I'm not a fan of it, and I know you're not going to be a fan of it, but I'd like to get your thoughts. So we'll start with the spray and pray method of emailing. So what that means is that you have a script. Doesn't matter what your script is, and honestly, all you're doing is that you're just changing the first name. So you're sending out that message to everybody. Jeff, let's get started, brother. What are your thoughts on the spray and pray?
It's garbage. I mean, it really is. It doesn't tell you the person receiving that email who you are as an individual. It's canned. I mean, completely canned. And the smart shippers out there, I can tell you right now, know this. They'll go on the internet, and especially the newbies, and they'll find out, how do I engage with a new shipper through email? And what they'll do is literally copy and paste what it is, change the name of the person, the company, everything falls into place, and it's long. It's not like short.
It's long.
Shippers aren't going to read that whole garbage there. If you don't grab their attention in the first line, you're lost. Period. And again, everything starts on the subject line. Yes. Everything starts on the subject line. It's not really what's in the body of the email. And I'm just saying that as a receiver. Have I sent out emails for prospects last year? No. Not a single one. Just being absolutely honest. I just don't believe in it, because, again, I have this problem of always sitting in the shipper's seat, and what I want to see when it opens up in my email. And I just can't do that. I mean, because I know I just have that feeling of every single shipper out there, because I have that empathy that it's just not going to work. So I try to differentiate myself by doing other things. But I
100%.
don't know.
So
What are your thoughts on that? I
yeah,
mean,
I feel like I could talk all show about this, but because I love emails. So let's break down exactly what you said. First thing about subject lines. I just want to talk to everybody about subject lines. What works for me is keeping my subject line less than 5 words, and it has to be something that kind of catches them. There has to be a hook. So, for example, I'll talk to you about a customer that I recently just started a conversation with, and we're moving forward into the next steps of moving shipments. But I saw her LinkedIn. I took a look. She actually has like a dog organization as well. I think she works in a shelter and stuff like that. I literally put my subject line as "I want to pet your dogs." And that was my subject line. And part of the email I personalized. We'll get to personalizing in the second part of the episode, but I kind of want to talk about the spray and pray. Want to preface by saying this, that everybody can be successful no matter what. It doesn't matter what method you go into.
right.
Everything will work for different people, right? But when it comes to spray and pray, I'm not a fan of it. Like you said, it's a canned message, but it's always going to be the same kind of message that shippers see. And that message always says, "Hey, I have X amount of power units. We've been in business for things X amount of years. We're the best." And it's always going to accompany like an attachment of like your company profile. Um, I don't really think that shippers, and Jeff, maybe you can talk about the smart shippers. Like, I don't think shippers care about those attachments. Like they're not opening them up. They're not, unless they were to open, like I was to say, hey, hey Jeff, this is for you, and you open it up, and let's say there's a picture of you or your company there, something that's personalized to your business, rather than, hey, this is X company that got started in X year. We have X amount of employees. We love team culture. We're all about that, and kind of going from there. So when it comes to canned messages, it does work, but to go with volume. So if you're going for volume, then I would recommend that, because you can bang out like 250 to 300 emails a day. Is it going to be successful? I don't think so. It's not that from there. But so just breaking that, coming back to subject lines, keep it under 5 words. For spray and pray, I feel like Jeff, and maybe I know you said you didn't send out any emails, but I want to role play with you here as well. Spray and pray could work if you're only going after a niche section of shippers. So let's say if you're going all on, sorry, if you're all going after automotive or something like that, you tailor that message and you're completely canned from there. But with that being said, like I said, it's not for me, and I'd love to get your thoughts when you got like those. Like, you could easily tell what's canned and what's not, right? So what were the mindset when you got one of those and you opened one of those, Jeff?
Here we go again. I mean, and I speak on behalf of a lot of shippers out there, because they're looking for something that's unique, something that just grabs their attention in that first sentence, something, and it's not freight. I mean, again, like I said to you earlier, is so subjective. There's a lot of brokerage and freight brokerages out there that will, say that's a wrong statement, Jeff. We've done it all the time. We've been very successful. Yeah. But the way that I look at it is this: if you do the spray and pray, what's the high likelihood of how many times do you do that? You're going to do it like multiple times, like a month, every couple of weeks, maybe every single month, going out to the same people. They're going to get red flag. They're going to remember that. They see a lot of smart shippers out there. They see that email address, boom, it goes right into the garbage. I mean, just like that. You're red flag. So you might get lucky, but just think about all the other possibilities that you're going to lose if you attack them a different way with a different strategy that might have opened up a door for you on those. Because, it's like the first impression is a lasting one. So if you go out and you see that, what's going to change that recipient's mind that you're going to act different if they even spoke to you? It's going to be the same stuff. So that's why you've got to change it up, at least the way that I look at it.
Yeah, and And just so, like, as we're kind of talking about being subjective, like, it's going to be different for every single person here.
It
So,
will be.
what we're trying to give you what we've done and what's worked for us, and test, test, test. I think that's the most important thing, especially with the mindset that we were talking about this whole week. Is like, hey, you just come out of training, you had your planning last week, you're getting into the trenches right now, you're making those calls and you're making those email campaigns. And Jeff, for me, like I said, the spray and pray did work for a certain time, but it kind of transitioned into the raving customers campaign for email campaigns that I think works a lot. So when it comes to raving customers, I love when it comes down to, um, as Jeff is kind of saying here, I actually learned this from a good friend, Chad. And raving customers, Jeff, can you actually tell me, like, what's like the top five brands that you like?
Oh my God. I like so many. It's just, you always ask me these frequent questions. I mean, it really all depends. I can't really
I just give me one just off the top of your head. It doesn't have to be your favorite, but just give me one brand.
Pepsi. All right, I
Pepsi.
don't
Okay.
drink it, but Pepsi.
Pepsi. Okay, Pepsi, right? So if you're a fan of Pepsi, what the Raven fans campaign looks like, you find out obviously you're obviously going to be prospecting Pepsi, and you give them an example. You give them an example, something like sending a picture with a Pepsi can in your hand, or maybe wearing some merch, or going to like their website and doing some recording. So my friend Chad, who was telling me about this Raven fans campaign, he lost a lot of weight using like these protein powders and pre-workouts. He
Yeah.
literally took a picture of his before and after, and he sent it to like the marketing manager. He didn't even send it to the logistics manager. He's like, look, this is what this product has done for me. I'm such a fan. I love this product. Let's go. And then they forwarded and they closed it and they did business other ways. But he never talked freight in like his email campaign, and he was a raving fan. So like when you're coming back to talking about Pepsi, for me, if I was going to prospect Pepsi, I would do it the same way. I would basically send a picture, say, hey, really love your products. This is what we have. Take a picture in the store, take a picture of the palette of Pepsi in the store, be like, I'd love to be a part of this. How can I get involved? Right. And you're a raving fan because, a lot of people, they'll tell their friends and their family about bad experiences they've had versus the good experience. They kind of expect like when's the last time you went to like a restaurant and like you had really good service and like, oh my God, let me tell somebody about it. But
Oh,
you went to
I go online and I post my reaction. I try to help people out. I think that's a good publicity. I mean, it could be a bad one or it could be a good one. So it puts the pressure on the one who's the service provider to actually provide some excellent service because that's going to travel. Somebody's word of mouth. Somebody's going to say something, whatever, put it on the internet, and boom, it's either going to make you or break you. So you want to be consistent. So that's very true.
That's very true, and that's where you want to be in the referral of the raving fans campaign, and that's where I kind of lean into like what I do for my emails is personalization. So I'm going to preface by saying I use Lavender.ai. Lavender AI is basically an email tool that I pay monthly for. And what it does is that you'll write an email and it'll basically judge you. It'll say, okay, you're too late. It's too wordy here. It's basically kind of like an AI tool to look at it. And one of the favorite tools I love, and this is not a paid promotion. I wish it would because I'd love a free membership.
Yeah, a new sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. But one of my favorite things about Lavender is that it gives, when you write that email, it shows up like how it would show up on a cell phone. And people need to understand that. And I saw an article yesterday where saying that everybody was off for MLK Day yesterday. 90% of people are going to be looking at emails through a cell phone. They're not going to be looking at it through their desktop because they're off, right? So you want to ensure that you're sending emails that are not too wordy. For Lavender, Jeff, my emails are less than 50 words, the actual body of the email. It's low friction. So what I kind of start with, I start with a fact. I don't even introduce myself because at the end of the day, they can click that link in my signature. They can see the email. They know what company I'm calling from or I mean emailing from, and just a low friction ask. Hey, I'm never asking for time. I feel like in emails you should never ask for 30 minutes of time because 30 minutes is a lot. Jeff, can you talk about a little bit about that because you don't have that time. You don't have that time to give everybody 30 minutes.
You don't. It really all depends. All right, if you're zeroing in on mom and pop shipping, with a small facility that you just want to do LTL and everything, they'll be more than happy to talk to you. I mean, because they're not that busy.
Yep.
They're more on the board side. But if you get up into like Ford Motor Company or Konica Minolta Imaging, Hitachi. You get into the big ones like I managed. They don't have the time. They do not have the time. There's so many moving parts in those big operations that you're getting pulled left and right. And if you have 2 minutes, that's a lot of time. Seriously, that's a lot of time, because there's not a time in the day that you are not busy just sitting there twiddling your thumbs, you know? So it depends on who you're going after. And that's the strategy, right? In the approach of how you're going to approach different prospects. You know, you have to have that. You can't attack all the same way.
No.
You know, you're not going to attack $1 million company the way you did $1 billion company. There's no way that, you know, it's just not going to work. So be cognizant of that. And how do you find that out? Do your homework, do your research, you know, find out if you have any connections to that person, because who knows, you reaching out to somebody, they have a connection, and you could say, hey, you know what, I'm connected. Maybe they know something about Bob, you know, and you say, hey, tell me a little bit about Bob. You know, I'm going to reach out to him and whatever. Is there some things I should stay away from or whatever? And if you're a really good connection with that person or have one, they'll be more than happy to say, hey, you know what, listen, let me do the legwork. I know him really, really well. I'm going to tell him your name and tell him that you're going to reach out to him sometime this week. Boom. That's it. No, there's no better way.
There is. And when it comes to emails, just exactly like that. I love that. I love prefacing the email saying, hey, I'm not spam. Bob from so-and-so sent me, you know, and then that kind of opens up their eyes a little bit. And they're like, okay,
but it takes time to get there, because Bob's not going to be available if you're a newbie and you're just getting into the industry, but you've got to create those Bobs and Sallys.
So I think so. If you're brand new into the industry, I'm a big believer in going the personalized method. I know Scott is here, and I love to get his mentality of how he handles email campaigns. But I think it's really important where you do the research. And I think if you're brand new, looking at things, so Jeff, when I'm prospecting, I'm doing my research for emails. I look at three things. I look at earnings reports, I look at sustainability reports, and I look at their DCs. And my messaging will revolve around those three, because that's
B too.
Sorry?
You can do a D&B background check on them. Bradstreet. You know, look what their accredited is. You know, are they an A or are they a triple B? You know, all those things have direct impact on whether or not you want to do business with them. They could tell you about their pay practices, how many people are in it. You know, what size of a company, the locations. I mean, there's different ways of slaying it for sure.
100% NDB, and I didn't know that, so I'm gonna take a look at that after we get off this. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's awesome to kind of think about, because you know you got to be personalized with your messaging when it comes back to email campaigns. I do not believe that you need to introduce yourself saying, "Hey, I'm Ryan with X company. We've done this." I think you need to kind of be, at the end of the day, are you looking for a customer? It's a person over a product. What are you going to sell? You're going to sell to the person. You're not selling the product. Anybody could do this. So I truly believe, I was watching an Alex Hormozy video last night, and he was actually explaining that, you know, like, you're selling to the person. So figure out what the person's mindset is, learn a little bit of psychology, understand what their DCs are, because Jeff, as you mentioned, those mom and pop stores, shippers, sorry, they're going to have the time. And I'm not going to lie, I prefer those kind of customers because I can build a relationship faster with them.
Sure.
as opposed to the big ones. But you're a volume guy, so it's like, what is kind of like your mission in terms of what are you trying to do?
Right, those smaller ones take up most of your time, because I hate to say it, but they don't know or have that knowledge, so they're always questioning you. They're always doing this, always doing it. It takes a lot more time for the transactional piece of the business rather than the dedicated. At least the way I look at it, anyway.
I like that, because like I've known, I've dealt with some mom and pops, and man, the first time we did a cross-border shipment, that poor driver was waiting there for a while. But with that being said, you know, I feel like with the motto, and I adapted your mottos, like customers for life, and I felt like those small pops, those are going to be customers for life right away, you know, from that aspect. But coming back to email campaigns, I think, you know, keep it short, keep it sweet. So that's for my first touch. You know, that's the first touch I'll kind of do, send it out there. Hey, Ryan, I didn't get any touches. They didn't reply to me. They're ignoring me. What's wrong? I should have looked up this before, Jeff, but I feel like there's stats out there that saying you don't connect with somebody, I think on like the 10th or 11th try, and people give up after like the second or third, right? So think about this in the mindset. You took your time, you wrote a really nice personal email, you did everything. They just didn't get it. They didn't receive it. They saw it, maybe went to, hey, I'll deal with this later kind of junk box. I think like your second email or third email should be a call. You should definitely call them, figure out, hey, what's going on? Is there some time we can kind of schedule in? Jeff, back into your logistics days in the chair. What worked for you when somebody called you or even sent you an email? What was some things that were impressive to you?
Um, the congruency, they tapped in, they knew who I was. They said, hey, you know what? I understand that you work with so and so. I did too. I've been working in that type of industry, and they start rattling it off, and then they're starting to talk my language about, which is important to me, because the one thing you don't want to do as a shipper is take that risk if there's no relatability there in the conversation, because if you're shipping high value products, you don't want somebody that's, not viced in that area, that has that experience and that knowledge to handle those type of shipments. So why would you even want to take and say, you know what? Yeah, you know what? Sure, I'll take that risk. It's like, God forbid if something goes wrong. Those are the type of things that I definitely look for. And you also, as you're prospecting, you mentioned about 11, 13 times, and you're still not getting it. Don't be surprised, and I bet you there's a lot of people out there who got a derogatory statement from a shipper who said, I don't know what I need to tell you, but stop sending these emails. I am not interested, and I'm sure that a lot of people got them out there, I mean, they were just determined, their drive was there. I'm going to get this guy. And the next thing you're done when you get to that point. And he says, what don't you get? I've received your emails. I have no interest, red flag, you're done. You're right there. You're on his list. See ya. So you have to be, it's not about pound. It's just a waste of time. It's why are you pounding? What's the end goal? What do you want to accomplish? Sure, you want them to be a client, but are you going about it in the right method, the right way? And are you going about it strategically and tactfully? That's the thing you got to do. A lot of people don't understand that.
And I think that's where discipline comes into it, Jeff, because for pound, as we're so just to preface everything a little bit here, we talked about cold calling yesterday. We talked about emailing today. We're not telling you just to do one. We're telling you to basically build a sequence of your own and kind of work that. We're going to be talking about video one day. We're going to be talking about social selling on LinkedIn, Facebook, like the things that we kind of do, and basically add that into your thing. So because for me, I think sequencing and campaigning, Jeff, is that you kind of do like a 12, like what is that, 10 to 12 touch campaign in like 30 days. And this is more of like the SaaS guys, the guys who sell like software. Those are the things that they can do. Yeah, software solutions, right? So I think that's what, especially if you're brand new, you got to make, like we said yesterday, and we got the message, you got to make the calls, you got to do the emails, you got to go through these things to kind of go through experiences. And just from firsthand experience, Jeff, I've never had a customer get mad at me through email for saying I've reached out too much or anything like that. It's just, hey, it's just not the right timing. Let's set something up in a couple months or a couple weeks or maybe next week or something like that. So it's the way that you go about it, and I think it's the right messaging that you send, and that's what I kind of want to get.
Method, though. Don't repeat the same thing constantly all the time. Now, hopefully, you have a CRM, and every touch point that you have with that prospect, you are entering that into your CRM. And you're putting down the dates and the time and who you wrote out to and what the subject matter was. Because again, if you're doing 100 calls or 100 emails a day, there's no way in hell you're going to remember everything that you said unless you're using the same canned script email going out the gate. Then it's a no-brainer. But if you're smart and you're changing it up on every touch point to that individual, you hopefully are putting that in the CRM. So that's going to help you with your strategy and your next step and how you're going to approach that. Are you going to reflect upon and say, Hey, you know what? I reached out to you yesterday on the 3rd. Today is the 4th. I didn't hear back from you. Then do the same thing
Nah,
and say you go
nah,
on the 4th. No, you can't do that. You know,
yeah,
you can't pound them like that. But
no.
you've got to change it up. And that's when you start looking for connections and similarities and the people that know him and know you. And you start thinking of those strategies, because it does help. It does push the peanut forward a little bit at a time.
Yeah, like, I hate that. I would hate to get that message saying, "Hey, I reached out
They
yesterday.
do
Any
it.
thoughts?" Or like that. But no, but
Trust me.
hey, they definitely do it. But with that being said, you got to kind of switch it up a little bit. One of my favorite things was for Big Shipper. I reached out a couple times. I sent some market data. I sent different things, sent videos, sent everything. And this is probably the favorite response I've ever gotten. Jeff was saying that, "Hey, I didn't know about you or your company before, but now because of everything you've sent, you've earned my respect." And when you get something like that, and mind you, I wasn't pounding him every single day. It was every 48 hours, I would send something. Hey, send like an article here, or send like a video, send an email, try to give him a call, and things like that. And I think one of the most important things, we have tools out there, and you should be utilizing these tools for things like, hey, if you got your email opened, if your email got forwarded to somebody, because there's so many tools out there that I personally use. I use Yesware, and it tells me that. So they're opening the message, they're opening the message, so they're reading it. They're not going straight to delete. And I think when it comes to like email campaigning, just have your message and have your goal in mind. Sorry, your goal in mind, like you said, and reverse engineer that. What is it going to take me to get to that customer? That's all we really want, and that's what we're going to talk about more in depth next week. But it's like that's the goal in mind, right? You're trying to get a customer. That's straight up is you're trying to build a relationship and get a client for life. The client for life will come into after you've closed them and after you've kind of built familiarity and everything like that. Because you said something that I saw post yesterday was like, it's more expensive to add a new carrier to a company than to just build an existing relationship with one that you already have, right? So and I truly appreciate that, because like that's the truth about it. Like nobody wants to switch. Nobody wants to switch. Like Jeff, if I told you, hey, you got to switch your camera today, you'd be like, well, why do I want to? Like this one's working perfectly for me.
Right.
You
But I do have to change it. So thanks for the.
see, Jeff, I kind of go from there, but
No, but
email.
yeah, the thing is that with email and stuff like that, with prospects, and I'll be honest, all my clients that I have on board, doors were open for me. I never made a call, I never made an email or nothing, and these are big hitters, and I just exploited them, and I just dug in deep, deep, deep. Um, Everything I have is by word of mouth. Everything that I have, they didn't make one prospect call or any emails or
So
anything.
so
Follow-ups,
so
and they've
when
been on
you
board. They've been on board for 2, 3, 4 years, constantly, all the time.
Okay, so I want to
So
pick your brain here, Jeff. So I know that's where you are right now in your career, and like I said, you had the experience with it. That year that you guys were in business I mean, like you said, you did $9,000 profit.
yeah,
How did you prospect then that first year? Was it doors being open at that point, or was
I
it
didn't know. I'm being honest. I just didn't know. I just knew from the inside out, not from the outside in. I'm just being honest. I had absolutely no idea where to thought. I thought that it was just going to be like, yeah, baby, I'm in.
okay?
And it was like, holy, I mean, it was like a whole different animal. But then I started thinking, and it took me months and months and months. And I was like, okay, how am I going to get noticed? How am I going to open up that door? And I started thinking, you know what? Crap, I got a lot of connections. I have a lot of good bosses that taught me a lot. They're still in the business. Let me just tap their mind, and just started rattling. And next thing you know, one opened up a door for me. I've been in there. That person who was a senior VP of the operations, really big shipper. He was there for a little while. I'm still there. And he went to another company, and he pulled me into that one as well. So, I mean, it's just like you got to kill it, and you have to learn when you're wrong and be willing to say, you know what? I don't like the way things are working. I know it's 200K worth of revenue. I'm backing out of it. And you
Yeah,
got to be willing to back away from it and give them a damn good reason, because it may be the fluidity of things. It's just that meshing. You can't put revenue before service.
no,
That is it. So if things start falling apart and you've got your finger on that pulse, contact the ship and pull out before they tell you to pull out. That is worth platinum right then and there, because they know you're on top of your game. In logistics, every day is not easy. It's how you attack those problems and those issues to put the solution in place that keeps you on point and in the game for long periods of time. It's when you fail to recognize, that's when you are going to lose big time. So you have to be cognizant of it every single day. And then it works like clockwork. I can tell you right now, like clockwork. Even my partner we are so congruent. He has plenty of reach. He uses his connections. It opens up a lot of doors. I do logistics consultant work outside what I'm doing here. It works. So, you just got to think about, how can I work smarter, not harder? And it's there right at your fingertips if you just think about it. Go into a room, people out there, my advice, go into a room and sit down, get a piece of paper, write these ideas down. Where are you succeeding? Where are you failing? How can I get better at my craft? What do I need to do? What do I need to look into? And I'm telling you, you'll be shaking your head saying, I always had it, but didn't realize it was right there in front of me. I'm telling you right now.
As we're talking about email campaigning there, yeah, Jeff is like, work smart, and I definitely agree from that aspect, because you got it. Like I said, we're the mindset that we want to do for like this whole theme. The reason why we're doing the themes is people kind of getting brand new into the team, so they're not going to have that luxury of being able to do that. They've got to, like we said, we got to make the calls, you got to make the emails. So I know that we'll kind of end it off on there for just kind of like some quick tips again, just to recap a little bit. Emailing, you have your spray and pray method. It's not really successful, but some people find it as successful. You have your raving fans. Write down your top 10 to 20 products that you like and how they change your life, and reach out to them, and something's going to happen there. Because the best thing too, part of email campaigning too, is that if you have Twitter, companies literally pay big bucks to have people run their Twitter campaigns. So meaning that, like, their customer service. So let's say I had an issue with my iPhone. If I went on Twitter and I type, hey, at Apple, my iPhone sucks or is not working, I'll get a DM, I'll get a message saying that, hey, what's going on? How can we resolve this? So use that to your advantage. People are there just because it's not the logistics manager, it's somebody within the company who can open that bridge for you, open that door for you, and be different and differentiate yourself from there. So for email, like we said, go with the spray and pray if you want to. Raving fans, personalized things like lavender.ai. Yes, where
be strategic.
Exactly, be strategic about it,
because sure it's meaningful.
Yeah, personalize that for at the end of the day, because it's going to be different for every single person, but it's the impact that you leave. Just remember, everybody, and I want to leave off with this that we said yesterday: this industry is a relationship industry. We're not a one-time purchase. You're not going to buy a course for one time and that's it. No, this is customers for life, right, Jeff, take us away.
Yeah. Again, the subject here is subjective. By all means, there's so many different ways to slay it. You just have to take a step back, look at what you're doing, and saying, "Does this work for me?" And you'll find a solution to that if you're willing to take that time and be patient with yourself. You can be your worst enemy. I say it all the time. There's no competitors out there. The only person you're competing with is yourself. That's it.
100%. And I this is the greatest quote I've probably ever heard. Stay in your lane. There's no traffic there, by Jason Robine. So let's go with that.
Right.
So I want to thank everybody for coming out today. Definitely catch us on the replay at 12 and 3 p.m. Eastern time on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. If you found value in this, and I know a lot of people will, hit us up. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. Let us know what kind of campaigns you kind of run, and if you need any assistance with it. Yeah, we'd love to kind of hear what you guys run and what's kind of successful for you guys or not been successful for you guys. And we're here just to kind of tell you what we've done, and whatever assistance that we can give. So tomorrow we're going to take a little switch from it, right? We got the main man, the mad scientist himself. We got Dean Croak joining us for tomorrow for Data Day. It's one of our favorite days. We will be talking about prospecting a little bit with him as well, sticking to the theme. But I know it's one of our favorite days. Jeff is always looking forward to bringing new data as well that he's personally seen on his end as well. So with that being said, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Be safe. Send those emails. Make those calls. You're just one step away from changing your whole life.
Sure.